Hey, so this is the first in a series that I'm going to be calling Protein and Purpose. Weekly talks I'll be giving mostly regarding fitness, tips, telling stories about client success, answering questions. If you have them, go ahead and put them in the comments. Um, but probably also talking about fatherhood because that's something I'm doing, looking to grow and get better at. And that's the overarching theme with all of this is going to be growth, improvement. As I do this, I'm sure I'll get better at doing it. There'll be better lighting. But yeah, fitness, family, fatherhood, did not intend it to be all the F's in there, just rolling as we go. The story I want to talk about today is one of a fairly recent client I just started with. I've actually known her for a while. She was in one of my groups, my online groups last year, and she saw some good success in that group, but felt like it was more of a struggle than it should have been because she was saying she was very, very sore throughout the entire program. And I often talk about how soreness is part of exercise, it's part of getting in shape, but ultimately, health and fitness is about getting more out of your life, not less. So it should make your life better. It should improve it. While there will be some soreness occasionally, it should not be debilitating. And she said she felt like it was. So then she saw my mom's success story. You can go check my Instagram reels and see the whole story. But after she retired, we moved her in with us here, and she lost 30 pounds in the first 30 days and 46 pounds total over something like that in the first 60 days. And that was 2.5 years ago as I record this, and she's down a total of 70 pounds now, so it's obviously been sustainable, but it was because she made an actual lifestyle change and not what I recommend for most people, lifestyle evolution. An actual lifestyle change is taking everything and turning it on its head, upside down. So when I met with my client, we'll call her Liz, to get into personal training after the group, she said, how can I get results more in line with that? And so obviously with personal training, you can do that a little bit. It's a little bit easier to stay on top of everything like that. And what we found when we dug in, I covered this in the group, but again, in a group, a lot of stuff can get missed, is she wasn't hitting her protein goals. So again, that's in part, stories like this, things I frequently come across is in part why this is called Protein and Purpose. So reducing it to the minimum number of parts we need to focus on so we can see the best results. I'm sure you guys have heard it before. You've probably heard me say it, that when you're setting a weight loss goal or even a weight gain goal, you can track calories, but it's better to track macros and put an emphasis on your protein intake. And protein intake goals, generally speaking, you can take 0.7 to 1 gram. So let's just call it 3/4 to 1 full gram of protein per pound of goal body weight, and make that your daily protein intake goal. So just an example, if you have somebody who wants to weigh 200 pounds, then their daily protein intake goal should be somewhere between 140 to 140 to 200 grams a day. So 0.7 to 1 gram. So that takes care of one of the macronutrients. And then depending on some other things, we can figure out where the other macronutrients should be. But that is of goal body weight. Now with this particular client, when we dug into what her protein intake per day was, it was way below that. We were looking at like 30 to 40 grams of protein per day. And so if somebody had even 100 pounds as their goal body weight, that's less than half. Now let's talk about why that's important and why that can lead to, that can make you way more sore than you should be. When you're working out, you're putting demand on the body. You're causing trauma to the muscles. You're looking to work them at their upper threshold when you're strength training, when you're resistance training. Specific adaptation to impose demand is what we call it, the SAID principle. So we put a demand on the body, and the body will adapt by getting better at the demand we put on it. So we cause damage to the muscles. Those muscles need to repair. Now everybody knows food is fuel. There's different types of fuel out there, right? So we have, let's say, gas, diesel, and kerosene. Now when we look at macros, we've got protein, carbohydrates, and fats. They fuel different parts of the body. When we're looking at protein, it is what repairs muscle. It does other things, but if you're not taking in enough to repair the muscle, to repair the damage that you've done to the muscle, your body's going to not deal with that as well. You're not going to grow. You're not going to grow muscle. You're not going to get as strong as you could be. You're not going to increase your metabolism, and you're going to be more sore because of it. So for Liz, for this particular example, she was not taking in she was doing the work, right? She was doing the workouts as prescribed, but she was taking in dramatically less protein than her body required to recover from those workouts. This is why when I start working with somebody, we put the emphasis on protein intake, prioritize protein and nutrition, because in my experience, it is the thing that people are lacking. They go into this idea of caloric restriction and this idea of I'm going to live in a caloric deficit. First, no one lives in a caloric deficit. That's actually how you die. Calorie is a measurement of energy. It's the amount of energy it takes to heat 1 gram of water 14 to 15 degrees Celsius, a very exact amount of energy. If you are in a constant caloric deficit, you are dying. A caloric deficit is how you lose weight. But if we're looking to lose fat and gain muscle, we have to manage those calories and we have to look at caloric balance. That is easiest done when we are strength training, getting adequate cardio in, getting enough protein in to rebuild, and then managing carbs and fat on the other side of that. So that's the protein side. Now, keeping you on track, that's the purpose side. So if you've been following me any amount of time, you know I'm not a big fan of pre-workouts. Pre-workouts, what most people think of them. I do have a pre-workout that I use. It's coffee with creatine in it. Sometimes I'll put some salt in there and sometimes I'll put a little bit of honey in there. But it is at least coffee and creatine. That is my pre-workout. A little bit of a caffeine boost, and creatine just consistently is so good for muscles and so many other things. But when people ask what's the best pre-workout, my answer is always a worthy goal. Your purpose. What is it you are training for? What do you want to get better at? And I'm sure you've heard me say before, there are 3 types of goals. There is the aesthetic. How do you want to look? Which, it's okay to have that goal. A lot of trainers, it's like, don't chase the aesthetic. I used to be that guy too, but that goal kind of becomes a side effect once you dig into the other 2 types of goals. So aesthetic is one type of goal. The other is on the complete other end of the spectrum, lifetime or legacy goals. What type of old person do you want to be? What type of generational health do you want to pass on? How do you want to lead your family, your community in health and fitness? I will tell you for me, that lifetime legacy goal is when my kids are around the age of 20, late teens, early 20s, I'm going to be in my mid 60s. And at that time, I want to go on an adventure trip of their choosing with them. Hike the Appalachian Trail, climb Kilimanjaro, the Grand Canyon, whatever. Jump out of an airplane with them. if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to be able to do that at that time, if I stand any chance of being ready for that, I have to be working out right now. Because it's not just going to, I can't train for that in a 30, 60, 90-day challenge when I get there. I have to be working on that right now. Now, the aesthetic is the really, it just kind of becomes the side effect right now. And the lifetime or legacy goal is that thing way off in the future. They're both, you know, that one's kind of intangible. So the next goal that kind of connects those two is your empowering goal. What is the sport or activity that you enjoy doing that would bring some fulfillment, some accomplishment to your life in the next 3 to 12 months? Spartan races are really popular. I've done those. My wife and I have talked about doing one of those next year. I love hitting a punching bag. I love to get in sparring when I can. I've had clients have ballroom dancing as their empowering goal, rock climbing, fencing. I don't care. Pick something that is exciting and maybe even a little bit intimidating to you. Trust me, the first time I stepped into a ring was more than 20 years ago, and probably almost 30 years ago, and it's still intimidating, right? So exciting and intimidating, and you can feel yourself getting better at it every time you practice it. That is your empowering goal. So have that aesthetic goal, have that lifetime legacy goal, set that empowering goal, work on that. The other two become side effects. And that is how protein and purpose come together and help you build a fulfilling life. Like I said, I'll be doing these talks every week at least. So if you got a question you want answered, if you got a subject you want me to cover, put it in the comments, send me a direct message, and yeah, let's get this done. Thanks, y'all. Get strong and do stuff.